Yeah, would be known.
3, 2, 1. And here we are back at the Super G at the Colorado Convention Center. Super G sponsored by UPS. We got a couple more competitors here for the Super G. You know, up next is Eriberto Alvarez. Is there an advantage from maybe going first in the Super G to going last or in the middle?
Well, I'll tell you, I haven't never done the Super G, unfortunately. You know, they don't let us do it. But in my slalom event, I don't like to go first because you might see an obstacle, you got a trick up your sleeve, and if you end up going first and they see that trick, everybody uses it, you know, and that's what happened to me last year. But I found out a rule, too bad I found it out only after the fact. If you draw first, you don't have to go first. You can designate anybody you want. Like I take Jeff Odom, who smokes everybody every year, and say, Jeff, you go first. Then we know what we had for a time to beat, and then I could go later in the order and save my little trick.
Right.
You know, because during one event, one obstacle this year in my course, I had a little trick I used, and after I went like third, after I used it, everybody that went after me used it.
So there is
a little bit of a, if you want to keep something under your hat, you want to kind of go back in the order, but you don't really have an option unless you draw first.
Right.
If you draw first, you can choose to not go first and pick somebody else, designate somebody else, take that spot and take theirs.
Yeah, as you were mentioning, it's a kind of like a lottery draft. What they did before is they put numbers in a hat. Look, number one gets to pick who goes first, and then it goes kind of after that. And so there are disadvantages of going first and advantage. I think one advantage of going first is you just get the nerves out of the way, you get it over with, you know, you're done with, and then it's kind of all out of your hands. But if you're in the last, you know, then you get to watch how everything goes, and you get to know what time you need to beat. And Alvarez making his way through.
Here comes the reverse section. You know, this is tough. You know, you got to, and the thing is, you're supposed to be trying to make speed through here too. Making the speed without hitting the cones and going backwards, you know. It doesn't look like that much, but that's a tough section just right there, even though it's flat.
And, you know, this is kind of like...
that's where people make up a lot of time. These guys that can carry speed through there, do that, going fast, don't hit cones, get clean. Notice how slow. He's still hitting cones, and he's trying to be clean, but he's losing a lot of time just in that little flat backwards section.
Yeah, and as you know, that's kind of like an everyday thing, because there are some, you know, places as in a wheelchair that you can't go through your front wheels. You got to back your way through.
And you know, you get pushed in somewhere, and you're blocked in, and you got to back your way out for somebody to come through. And his balance is a little tippy, but he's saving it. See how sometimes they use their body English. You know, his upper body, he's trying to pull it back and push it forward. To pick up his casters as he pushes, he'll pull him forward. You know, if you got trunk, you can move your upper body forward and backward. It can help you with some of these harder obstacles. Where Rory, as a Class 2, doesn't have any trunk, so he can't do that cheating upper body stuff. That's why that obstacle is a little harder for him than those other levels. And this is one of our novices, isn't it?
I'm just looking over your shoulder here, Mike. No, I'm just talking to Mike here and keeping it.
Yeah, Alvarez actually is he's a class 3, so you know he's not fully
right. So he's missing a little bit of trunk. He don't have the upper body strength and the core that a lot of the 4s and 5s have. And in a wheelchair, you know, especially obstacles like this, having that core and being able to use your trunk, use some body English. You see some of these guys rocking their upper body as they're pushing the wheels. You know, guys at the 2s and the 3s don't have that ability. So it's just all arm power for them, you know?
Yeah, talk about the body English, you know, it's an advantage because you kind of push your body weight in
especially in these runged obstacles. You know, he can pull himself back to hold the front wheels up, and then as they drive forward, you know, push forward, and then if the wheels start to come down, they just use their upper body and pull back, and it keeps the casters up. Where, you know, the guys with no trunk and core, the only way they're keeping the casters up is straight arm power, you know?
Alvarez making his way through.
Now he's in the sand pit, the pea stone. Get those wheels up.
Getting through.
See, now he's got the fatter tires, and they float more on the top. So it gave him a little of advantage in that one obstacle.
Yeah, and you know, when they were doing the run-throughs this morning, they mentioned that if you're a speed guy, there are places where you could catch up, you know, make up time in the speed. If you're a strength and that kind of athlete, you know, there's places where you can make it through with your strength. Every obstacle and every stretch has its own, you know, unique, you know, circumstances for the athletes.
Yeah. They all have their little difficulty, and like you said, some of them are a nemesis to others, to some, and a benefit to others. You know, the more difficult of an obstacle it is for me, the more I like it, you know?
Exactly.
I'm like, if I want to race, I'll go to track, you know? I'm not the fastest guy. So the more difficult it is to get over, the more I like it, you know?
Yeah, because, you know, it's a challenge to yourself. If you can get, you know, beat your own obstacles, it's not only going to help you here at the games, but it's going to help you in your everyday life.
Yeah, and that's what this is all about. The slalom originally started in the rehab hospitals, trying to teach people chair skills so when they get out in the real world, they didn't get hurt once they sent them home. And it's just evolved, and, you know, Coach Hayes, God rest his soul, passed a couple of years ago, but has been doing this and setting this course for 20 years, and we used to tease him. What, you have a nightmare and then you just wake up and write it down and then figure out which class you're going to put it in? But
yeah, the Super G has definitely evolved, as you said, throughout the games. Now there's a lot of people here cheering you on, sponsored by UPS. And it only goes up from here. I'm sure as time goes on and the more games come, these games are just going to get more rigorous and longer and harder. But that's, you know, to the benefit of the athlete as well.
Oh yeah. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
And so far, these athletes here have been stronger than anything. As Eddie Alvarez is almost to the finish line, salutes, makes his flag. Now he's got to balance his way through here, keep his wheels up, because you don't want to fall down that one.
Yeah, that's the one. That's 2 4x4s with nothing in the middle. You pick those casters up and keep them up, because they'll go right through.
And Eddie Alvarez finishes his Super G here at Colorado Convention Center. Super G here sponsored by UPS.